So we'll just take that out.
Go to urgent. No, I'm just saying. I'm sure if you squeeze the bottle, you can probably get a little more out of there.
Oh,
there
that's
you
a
go.
good shot.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Dan and Dani podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be having a debate. This is going to get intense.
It's going to, yeah.
We're going to be debating, should you buy health insurance? I don't think you should, but Dani thinks that you should buy health insurance.
I do.
So this is going to be an epic debate, but we'll keep it fun too. But before we go into the debate, first things first, the shots.
Gotta have our shots, guys.
What are you drinking today, Dani?
So this time, I'm actually drinking sake. We ran out of my blueberry vodka, so it's gonna be sake today. And then you guys have what?
We have delicious pink girly watermelon vodka. I didn't drink this for a while because I was concerned it looked too girly, but I just gave up on that. Now I don't give a I drink it all the time.
But wait, you drink blueberry vodka, because so how could this be any girlier
but this
than
is
a
like
blueberry
pink. This
vodka?
is like, well, especially because she usually does whiskey. So I do a little pink girly shot. She does like a manly whiskey shot. I'm like, oh, I feel bad. But it tastes so good, so I don't care.
I mean, I wouldn't say that mine's like that manly because I do have to use a chaser.
I know, at least you're hardcore enough to do that. It's like, most people do White Claw or something.
I know, like you.
And behind the camera, we have John making the magic happen.
Yay, here you go, Don.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers!
Okay, so today's episode is a little bit of a serious topic. You might save hundreds of thousands of dollars, or maybe you'll be killed as a result of this advice. We'll see what happens. But before we get into the serious stuff, first we want to talk about some things that we've done lately that have been fun. So what's something that you've done lately, Dani, that's been fun that you think people out there should try out?
So we did go to that fondue restaurant, which was called the Melting Pot. And I've never been to the Melting Pot, never been to a fondue place, but I've always wanted to try it. Until now, I haven't really gotten to, but Dan decided to actually take me to the Melting Pot on a date once. And it was so cute because I don't know if they like knew that we were like a couple or anything, but they sat us in what they call like the lover's corner or whatever they called it. And it was like a really nice, cute corner, like round booth that was just like perfect size for just 2 people. And it was in like a nice dimmed area, so that was really nice to be around. And then they brought us like all these different types of fondues. And we told them that we were filming for my food blog. So normally she said that they can only give 1 cheese or 1 fondue at a time per, appetizer, dinner, and dessert.
Yeah, for each course.
But she was really cool, and she's like, I'm gonna give you 2 different cheeses for your appetizer. Of course, the main meal was like a grill. And then the dessert, she gave us 2 different chocolates or 2 different dessert fondues, which was really nice, actually.
Yes.
Mouth-watering.
Yes. You guys got to try it out. Really unique thing, fondue. I did it a very long time ago, but more than 10 years ago, but really glad that we got to do it together.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out my food blog, click my link below. So what about you, Daniel? What do you want to tell people that you did recently?
Well, one thing that we did together recently that was super fun, I actually haven't done this in a long time either, was Muay Thai kickboxing. For those of you guys who don't know what Muay Thai is, it's basically kickboxing. You can punch and kick, but it gets a little bit more fun. You can also elbow and knee, and you can clench, which basically means you grab a hold of the guy's neck, and then you can throw more effective strikes.
Which he taught me a lot of how to do already, and not gonna lie, I'm pretty good at it, but my knee turns red after I'm done.
Oh, his face is gonna be turning way more red. Don't worry about that. But Muay Thai, I love it because it's a really good self-defense art. A lot of people think they get in the self-defense fight and they're just gonna be boxing, but a lot of times you see this, that someone throws a sloppy punch in a fight like this and they break their hand. The good thing about Muay Thai is that you can be throwing your knees, which a lot of people don't know how to defend against, and it's a lot more effective. Plus, it's just super fun. I go to Ace's Jiu-Jitsu Club here in Austin. If you guys are in Austin, it's a great place to train. Definitely recommend it.
And they're also on Facebook, so go like their page, because I already have.
Yes, make sure you do that. Help them out. All right, so now let's get to the debate.
To the dirty.
Yes. Now we face off. Health insurance. Should you buy it or should you not buy it? What do you think, Dani? Should people buy health insurance?
I think because Obamacare came out, or there's also Medicaid, there are different ways that you can get health insurance either covered or for cheap. And I think that it is worth it because, I mean, seriously, if somebody is prone to getting sick or breaks bones a lot or does a lot of sports activities that could be harmful to them, I think it's really worth it. And also, a lot of places that you work for do give health insurance, and you don't even have to pay that much for the coverage. Yeah, the health insurance part's normally like $120 if it's just you for like the lowest insurance premium type thing. So I think that if you are able to actually get it and afford it, especially if you're working enough to get it through your job and stuff like that, then I think it's definitely worth it. Because try having a kid. I had my son, and I was only 18 years old. Luckily I had Medicaid, so that was actually covered fully. But when I looked at those bills, just to give birth was, I would say, they came out to $20,000, maybe $15,000, and then just to stay in the recovery room for 3 days was about $6,000, $7,000. That was ridiculous. I was like, that should totally have been covered by Medicaid. So it was, thankfully, and all my doctor's visits, of course. So that was really helpful as well, because especially people that are going through poverty or just really need help or assistance, like it's good to use that stuff.
Yeah, I can't imagine having a baby, you get a bill for 50 grand. And I actually made another video on this, and I talked about that too, that especially if you are thinking about having a baby, then you should definitely have insurance. What I talked about in that video too, though, was that a lot of people just kind of approach health insurance not so much as a financial purchase, but as a religious purchase, where they would pay literally any price for health insurance.
What?
Now, obviously, it does make sense. I love you, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this, but yeah, that's you. So a lot of people, they say you have to have health insurance, and they would literally buy health insurance regardless of the price.
Yeah.
They would say, it's just something I have to have, just like I have to tithe at church. This is just what I do. I have health insurance, and I will just have it no matter what I pay and no matter how little in benefits I get. I guess what I'm looking at is, from my perspective, when I look at the plans available today, the premiums are really high, and the deductibles, or what you have to pay before the insurance kicks in, are getting higher and higher each year as well. So I think everyone kind of has to work it out for themselves, but everyone should kind of have an idea of what the maximum amount they'd be willing to pay for health insurance is for a given deductible. So let's say, Dani, let me ask you this. Let's say if you had an Obamacare Bronze plan, so your deductible would be about $5,000. You got to spend $5 grand on health insurance before your insurance even kicks in.
Okay.
What's the most that you would pay for insurance like that, where you got to spend $5 grand before your insurance kicks in?
Like monthly?
Yeah, your monthly premium. What's the highest premium you think you should pay?
Okay, so I do have really good insurance right now through my job.
Yeah.
I pay about $120 just for that, maybe a little less. So for something that's only $5,000 deductible, that's hard. I would say maybe $50.
Yeah.
Maybe $75 max.
I think that's a reasonable estimate. I mean, figuring you're putting in $500 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if that goes on for 2 or 3 years, you never go above $5,000. But then something happens, then you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
So I think that's a reasonable estimate. And I would say too, you're in a different situation than some people because you have a really good plan from your job. So if you do have a really good plan for your job, I'm guessing your employer probably kicks in some money to cover some of the costs, then it's probably worth it for you. For me, though, I don't have that type of plan. I'm on the individual marketplace. So for that type of plan, for me, it would cost me about $350 to $400 per month for that type of plan.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
But another thing that I was thinking about is that I'm a guy, so I can't give birth. And so that type of insurance can't cover you if you're a guy. So I think a lot of it just kind of depends on your own individual risk as well. Like if you're younger and healthy, if you're male versus female and you don't have that chance of giving birth.
If you're a smoker and a non-smoker, that's a big thing apparently now in healthcare.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with insurances. Sometimes I think your premium goes higher.
In some cases, yeah, it does. Sometimes I don't discriminate, but yeah, in a lot of cases they ask you and they test you and see if
Yeah, I've been asked before at my last insurance that I had.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think a lot of people out there, regardless of which side of this debate that you fall on, you should probably think about it like that. Like, don't think I am going to get health insurance or I am not. Just think about what's the maximum I would pay for a given level of coverage.
What's your parents' maximum level? Are they just like, I'll pay whatever?
Infinity. It would be.
Oh my God.
They would, well, just because, I mean, I'm sure you know too, like, it's a little easier for us. For example, at my last company, we had a group health insurance plan, so I did have health insurance. But when I lost that, when I sold that company, I was, I believe, 33. So I wasn't like I'd gone my entire lifetime with this. I know a lot of you people watching this, you might be in your 40s or 50s, and you've just had this your entire life. But just because you had it your entire life doesn't mean that you have to keep having it. So obviously, only you can make your own decision. But I would just say, look at this mathematically rather than just saying, I'm going to buy it or not buy it no matter what.
I mean, honestly, in the long run, if you do break a bone, do you really want to spend thousands of dollars on that in hospital bills?
Exactly. You could just do it like Dani did when she broke her rib. You living life like nothing's happening, playing paintball, doing Muay Thai.
Yeah, well, I had to stop all of that.
Oh, yeah. I am glad you did finally get it checked out. So it's kind of my fault as well. She had a rib injury. She had pain in her side. So after that, I thought it was just a bruise. So I'm like, oh, you know, we can do some workouts. We're doing hard weightlifting every day. We did a Muay Thai class. She went and did paintball. But I'm glad you finally got it checked out. And she found out that it was a broken rib.
Yeah, and I definitely needed to get that checked out because
Yes.
I finally got to the point where I couldn't do anything anymore. I literally could barely get out of bed. So then I was like, Daniel, I'm going to the hospital. And he's like, been telling me for at least like a week, oh, do you want to go get it checked out? Do you want to go get it checked out? I'm like, they're just going to tell me I'm hurting, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to give me anything because I'm allergic to morphine and I don't like painkillers. So the doctor literally laughed at me in the hospital and said, we'll figure something out. And he ends up giving me 600 milligrams of ibuprofen, which do work. Not going to lie. But
Not
then
like morphine, though. It's
Oh my gosh, if only I wasn't allergic to morphine. But you know what? It's probably a good idea anyways.
Yeah, and I do think, too, that kind of ties into this topic because when you don't have health insurance, then especially if you don't have a lot of money, you can be kind of hesitant to go and get things checked out. I know in the past when I was uninsured, back when I was in college, back when I didn't really have the money to cover things, I definitely made that mistake of not getting things checked out a little bit longer than I should have. But just in hindsight, like given this injury and what you learned from this, what would you say to the people out there when they might be approaching that point when they do want to go to the ER and get things checked out?
Like whenever you're talking about if they have insurance or don't have insurance.
Let's say if they don't have insurance, and let's say, you know, they have some kind of pain, they're not really sure, it's not really that severe, and they think maybe they could tough it out. But on the other hand, maybe it's a broken bone, or maybe it's something more severe. What would you say to those kind of people in terms of when they should get it checked out?
Honestly, just go to the ER. If you're really feeling like you're hurting, I was just being stupid because I got addicted to working out like immediately as I met Dan. So I didn't want to stop, but that was just me being a hard ass on myself. And then I realized the hard way that I really should have gotten it checked out in the very beginning.
And I've had a few injuries like that from jiu-jitsu where the day afterwards I was like, oh, it's just a bruise, you know, I can kind of tough it out. But one sign that I probably should have gone to the ER, and which I think you had as well, was if the pain is so bad you're having trouble sleeping. I think, in my opinion, that's a sign that you need to get things checked out. If you have trouble sleeping, then it's going to interfere with your recovery, and it's going to interfere with a lot of other things as well. And if you can't sleep through the night, I would just say don't tough it out. Just go to the ER, get it checked out. Even if they're not doing that much for you, it's good to at least know what's happening.
And that's what was happening to me. I was getting no sleep. I was losing at least 3 nights of sleep before I actually got it checked out.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still having trouble sleeping, but only because I am trying my best to just like get through it without using my ibuprofen, which I still have to use because it is still kind of painful, but getting better. So I'm recovering.
Yes. I think, too, if you do have an injury like that, just taking it easy for a few days like you're doing right now is a really good move. And I think beyond that stage, a lot of people make the mistake of either never going back in and never getting back into the workouts,
Yeah.
or they go too hard right off the bat. But what I'm hoping is that when you do go back in, we can work you back into it gradually, do some kind of physical therapy type exercises to get you back into it.
Yeah.
And hopefully a few weeks from now, you'll be back in Muay Thai again.
I know. I'm really wanting to do the jiu-jitsu class too that they have there, but we signed up for it, and then that's whenever I realized, I was like, yeah, I really should not be working out right now. So I took that one day off. And then I worked out 3 times after
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
And then I was just like, nope, can't. Really should just like put my foot down and just stay home and chill and relax with an ice pack.
Yes.
So that's
exactly.
what I've been doing, watching the news, of course, because that's all I watch whenever I'm home and not doing anything.
Yes. So I would say if you have an injury where you're having trouble sleeping or serious symptoms, definitely get it checked out. But let me ask your opinion on this, Dani. This is something that I talked about in my last video. Would love to get your thoughts. So my plan, if I got seriously sick, was that I'm going to use one of the loopholes in Obamacare to get insurance after I get sick. For example, I would like to say something very romantic right now. If I did get sick and have serious medical bills, then you can get married and then sign up for health insurance. So
And it would still count even if you got sick before you got the health insurance?
that's right. Yeah, because you can
Oh.
sign up now with a pre-existing condition and they can't increase the price.
That is so crazy. You guys need to know that for sure.
So I talked about a few backup plans like this in the other video. Some loopholes in the Obamacare system you can use to sign up for insurance after you get sick include getting married, moving to a different zip code, or at least officially changing your address while living in the same place. Or you can hire yourself and then offer yourself healthcare reimbursement. So there's a few ways that you can kind of exploit the system and sign up for healthcare after you get sick. So in the last video, it was more kind of hard and fast. It was kind of focused on like the financial decision of what you should do individually, just whether or not the person watching should get health insurance and how to run that calculation.
Yeah.
But in this video, we can go a little bit deeper and we can talk about whether the system should be like this in the first place. So there's some pluses and minuses to Obamacare. A lot of people did get insurance that didn't have it before, but on the other hand, it became a lot more expensive for other people. But what's your thoughts on it overall? Do you like the system overall, or do you think there's any way that it could become better?
For Obamacare, exactly? I actually never did too much research on the Obamacare. I just knew that it was something that people were actually able to afford to have health insurance. And I thought that that was actually an important thing. So that's really all I like kind of inlined at. So whenever I was learning about it, that's really all I heard. I didn't really hear what the pros were, what the cons were. I didn't know that I actually raised prices for people and that some people couldn't afford it, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think
Yeah, I didn't know about that at all. I had no idea. You're
That's
telling
okay.
me
That's why we're
something
doing
I
this.
didn't know now.
But I think a lot of people, just because it's so polarizing, they look at it and they're like, oh, it's terrible, 100%, or like it's 100% awesome. But like anything, it's a very large and complex system, and there's pluses and minuses. Many people benefited from it. People that were low income, people that had pre-existing conditions, people that were older. A lot of people did benefit from it. But on the other side, a lot of people are subsidizing those benefits.
Okay.
Ultimately, somebody has to pay for it. The point I was making in the other video is basically guys like me, guys who are wealthy, entrepreneurs, self-insured, or who don't have health insurance through a job, people who are younger, by younger I mean under 40, and people that aren't obese, who don't smoke tobacco or anything like that. Those are the people that are more likely to lose under the current system, whereas other people do make out a lot better. So I think it's hard to say one way or another, even though I don't have health insurance myself, whether you should get it. You just have to consider all these individual factors and see if it makes sense for your situation.
Even writing down a list of the pros and the cons, I literally do this myself. I'll literally write a whole column pros, a whole column cons, and just write down.
Yes. So what do you think about this? So right now, my daughter is covered under her mother's plan. Her workplace offers a really good plan. But I know this is another factor that a lot of people are considering. If they have kids, especially if you have kids, it can be very scary to not have health insurance. What are your thoughts? If you did have a child on your plan, do you think you should have health insurance at any cost, or is there any point where you would go uninsured?
Well, whenever someone's a child, you'll never know what's going to happen as they're growing. Internally, internally. Like something could come as an underlying cause of something else that you never knew about, especially with people whose kids start off, not as an infant, but later on as you're growing up with mental issues or, neurological issues and stuff. So you're going to want to have insurance to at least cover those expensive costs for that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that having a child, it does probably provide a lot more value. There's a lot more likelihood that you'll go above that $4,000 or $6,000 deductible or whatever it is. But let me ask you, like, let's kind of run some scenarios what the maximum would be. Let's say if you had a family with 2 children in it, everyone's pretty healthy. Let's say you have a child that's 5 years old and 7 years old. What is the most that you would pay for a plan where you have a $5,000 deductible? So $5,000 before it kicks in, and you pay everything before $5,000.
For both kids and myself, or just for the kids individually?
Just like 2 kids and yourself. What's the most you would pay?
Ooh, $200.
I think that's a pretty good amount. And we were talking about this in the last video that if it were $200, obviously that's worth it. You're gonna probably have some type of major medical issue over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years where it'll be worth it. I looked into this, and the average cost for a family of 4 is $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month with that kind of deductible.
Ma'am.
And every year it's going up too. Pretty soon it'll be $2,000 or $2,500 or $3,000. And what I'm just saying is that everyone has to kind of have a certain point where they're going to jump off this crazy train. I mean, if you're making $40,000 a year, you can't pay $3,000 a month for health insurance. You just have to stop at some point. So get your number. Just think about what is the most that I would pay for my family.
I don't think I would ever pay $1,500 ever in my entire life for every single month premium for health insurance, though.
Yeah.
I'd rather get sick.
Yes, death would be better than paying that much.
Seriously, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot.
Yeah, right. So if you guys take something away from this, obviously you might agree with Dani or you might agree with me.
My way's better.
Well, I think the same, but obviously for all the people out there, they got to make their own decision.
Well, wait, do premiums go up every month?
Well, not every month, but
year?
usually every year, yeah.
What?
Well, so in the last year, they actually haven't gone up, but in the 4 or 5 years before that, they went up. I believe it was about 5 to 10% per year. So basically, the cost is about double what it was 10 years ago. So probably 10 years from now, it'll be double what it is today.
That sucks.
Yeah, so keeping that in mind, if it were to double and double again, just figure out at what point you're going to quit. So if you're making that decision, that's what I would say to you. Just get your number. Don't say I am or I am not going to get health insurance. Take all these factors into mind and calculate the maximum you'd be willing to pay for any given level of. So for those of you guys without insurance, especially out there, our cameraman John actually brought up a really good suggestion before we filmed this video, which was that if you do have something that you might need to go to the emergency room for, there's a cheaper, better, faster alternative. But do you want to tell us about that?
You can also go to the urgent care. Urgent cares are all over town. Literally, I think there is at least 10 in Austin.
And actually, can you explain what you mean by that for people that don't know what urgent care is?
So urgent care is just a small little walk-in clinic. You can make an appointment. They are requiring most people make an appointment for COVID reasons right now. But other than that, it's a smaller clinic. They get you in quicker. Sometimes the wait's a little long, but it's not as long as a hospital, and it's not going to be you're sitting in a dark room where you're scared or there's just a bunch of people staring at you. No, this is like an actual doctor's office type setting, so you're more comfortable. The people are really nice. They're quick. I actually went to one of the urgent cares up in Pflugerville called Signature Care. Because my insurance actually covers my COVID testing, which is another good thing about having insurance because it completely covers my
I had
COVID
to pay $100.
testing. And it was only 15-minute result time. So, yes. Urgent cares are great for not only testing for COVID, but they are also great for emergencies.
Yeah, I think so. I've been a few times. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's just as good as going to the emergency room. You're not around as many sick people, especially during COVID. You're less exposed to a huge amount of sick people. Yeah. It's just better all around.
Yeah, but I wouldn't suggest going to urgent care if you're bleeding from your guts.
Yes.
That is more of an emergency room.
Yes. So if you have a gunshot wound, maybe not. But for most things.
Let's hope that you don't get a gunshot wound anytime soon, baby.
Let's hope. Okay, so those are our thoughts on health insurance. Hope we gave you guys a good framework to think about things, and you got to make your own decision. Dani gave you her perspective, I gave you mine, and now you kind of know how to go about making this decision. So for anybody who wants to learn more about you, Dani, where should they go to follow you?
So you guys can go to my Instagram, and that's going to be under _goddess_Elios. And then if you guys want to check out my food blog, the link's below. It's also going to be Fire Feeds ATX. So please like our video if you like this, and then subscribe down below.
Yes, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to learn more about my method of YouTube advertising, pick up my book, The 15 Steps to Profitable YouTube Marketing. Link in the description below. But we appreciate all y'all guys watching. Great to be able to talk with you like this, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.